Kevin and Mike are here to give you great news.
Nice. Hey, and welcome to another episode of Great News. I'm Kevin Ryder. This is Mike Catherwood.
Yes!
And every week we bring you nothing but positive stories.
That's right. Hey, listen. Bad stuff's going to happen in our lives. It's part of being human. You're going to lose loved ones. You're going to have to pay taxes. You're going to get broken up with. Why add to the suffering that's going to come along in your life by indulging in all the negativity and all the stuff that's on the news as is? Come to us. We give you happy. Boom.
We give you happy is a good slogan.
Intro. The show's about to begin, bro. Say hello to the happy, goodbye to the blues, because Kevin and Mike are here to give you great news.
All right, the first story today we both picked.
Yeah.
Which is rare. I don't think we've ever done that before.
No, typically, I think both of us will go through the other person's stories and make sure that we don't have them. I screwed up because I think you got your story in first.
It doesn't matter.
The headline was like all different.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this must be another amazing person doing amazing stuff, you know?
No, it's an amazing story, and I'm glad that we're both going to tell it because
it's pretty amazing.
It's a little bit longer, and we don't have video for it.
No.
But we do have some pictures. So there is a couple named Brandon Jones and his wife, Rena.
Yeah.
And they have fallen in love with this restaurant called Ichiban, I believe.
Ichiban?
Ichiban.
Ichiban. Yeah. In Baltimore.
Yes. And they love it. They live for it. And her mom, Rita's mom, who lives in another state in Vermont, said, give this to me on my dying bed. This is my favorite food ever.
She had come to visit Rena and her family many times in Baltimore, and they would always go to this restaurant, and the mom always commented that the crispy tempura broccoli at Ichiban is the best food she's ever had. She's someone who travels extensively, is a big foodie, but she said, this is my jam, so much to the point that she actually joked, bring me this on my deathbed.
Now, the story turns a little south when she's diagnosed with lung cancer, pretty advanced lung cancer.
Advanced lung cancer, yeah.
And she decides that instead of fighting it, she's older, and because she's just not up for the fight, she just decided, I'm going to stay at home. I'm not going to treat it.
Right.
And my days are numbered, and that's okay.
Why not be with, the people I love as opposed to in like a very kind of sanitary environment? I can just live my life in a comfortable fashion. And I think that's an admirable choice and understandable. Well, Rena, obviously very sad, and her family, because this woman is looking death in the eyes. They're like, we got to get her some
how can we
broccoli.
Help? How can we help with anything?
So we got to figure out.
How is broccoli the answer to anything?
Tempura broccoli's pretty gangster, dude. So they're like, well, let's just figure out how to cook it. We'll go up to Vermont. We'll cook it.
That'll be a big surprise. She'll love it. It reminds her of this restaurant.
Turns out it's really hard to make restaurant quality food. So they're like, okay, let's go get some from Ichiban. We'll drive it up to Vermont. But it's not going to taste very good.
No,
6-hour drive.
Soggy, probably.
Yeah. And it's tempura. The whole basis of the dish is that it needs to be crispy.
Right. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, I know.
Come on now.
So what's the only alternative, right?
Well, the alternative is that the man reached out to the owners and operators of this restaurant and said, will you help us figure out how to make it when we get there? He also added, I'm not really a chef, which I thought was very funny. And they basically decided, the owner and his partner, Chu is one of their names, and
Stephen Chu, I believe, is this gentleman's name.
This is them right there.
I had it right here. Yes, Steve Chu and Efren Abibe.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
They decided, you don't need to make it. We'll come.
Yeah. He said, Steve Chu, finding out that this man is not much of a chef, said, you're not cooking this.
Right. I can't give this.
Stop this.
Can't give this to mortals.
This is ridiculous. So they said, we'll come up. We'll drive 6 hours and prepare it at your mom's place.
So the husband thought, well, this is a huge mistake. He must not realize that it's in a different state. It's a 6-hour drive.
He literally asks the words, in quotes, "Do you know that Vermont's a different state?"
It would be so funny if he didn't. Like, for real.
Oh, I thought it was a
What?
city, man. I thought it was like 30 minutes away.
Yeah, it's a 6-hour drive, and they had some conversation back and forth. And these two guys always kept it pretty short, just like, hey, tell us the time, the address, and when we need to have everything ready.
So last Saturday, Chu, a Bebe, and their colleague Joe and Nuevo made the 6-hour drive to Vermont in a pickup truck. They pulled up to Rena's mom's house, and they got started, and they made her dying wish.
Out of the back of their truck. Look at this story. It was Vermont. It was freezing. It took them like a couple of hours just to get up enough heat to actually make this. And it was a surprise, so they didn't want Rena's mom, who was dying of lung cancer, to know that this was happening. So far, we have two guys who own a restaurant driving 6 hours to another state to make one meal for one person that didn't really ask for it.
The owner and head chef, this gentleman, Steve Chu, said, "You see so many people day in and day out in the restaurant business, but we remember faces. We all remembered her. She used to come in a lot." Chu said, "All smiles and a million thank yous to her." So, I mean, it's just, really put into consideration what went into this and the decision to do it, because I don't know what Maryland, their lockdown situation is like, but I would imagine right now it's not easy being a restaurant owner.
Yeah, agreed.
And for them to do this, to compromise their bottom line, all for the sake of like doing it for this lady who just loved it and is staring into the eyes of death. It's a beautiful, beautiful story.
I was crying when I was reading through it, because I just thought, how incredible to be able to do that for somebody. And like you were saying, it's tough enough to run a restaurant, but they drove over the weekend, 6 hours, made it, surprised her with it, drove back on Sunday and went back to work on Monday.
Yeah, back to the grind.
Meh, that's it. Okay, I'm good. That's miraculous.
Yeah, those people.
That is really something.
They really, really do deserve such admiration. And again, I know I've probably beat this horse dead, but if you happen to be anywhere near Baltimore, make your way over to this restaurant and do what you can to support them, because clearly they're people who deserve being supported.
One last thing. Rena said that her mom, who struggled to eat because she had sores in her mouth from the cancer, managed to devour the broccoli and even the spicy tofu bowl. And according to Rena, she wanted to lick the bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of difference you can make in someone's life, which I just love that.
I'll volunteer to give Rena's mom another bit of
Nope.
comfort in her dying.
She's good.
Speaking of licking the bowl, I'm just saying
No,
she's got something else
she's
she could lick.
good. How can you ruin that story?
I'll lick the bowl. You know what I'm saying? I'll lick the bowl.
Unfortunately, yes, I do. All right, is my story next or yours?
What do you say, Sully?
Kevin,
Go ahead.
Okay. There's a family dog in Ottawa, in a neighborhood, who is a rescue. Look how beautiful that dog is.
It is a beautiful dog.
And what?
It is a beautiful dog.
Yeah. And the owner takes her for a walk all the time. And watch this incredible story of her dog saving her life and how this dog did it.
Hell yeah.
Video in this next story may be disturbing to some. A CTV News exclusive. It's like something you'd see in a movie. A Stittsville dog caught on camera saving its owner after an unexpected medical emergency. CTV's Colton Prale has that story.
Meet Clover, a 1.5-year-old Maremma mix. Haley Moore and her family rescued her as a puppy. Tuesday morning, Clover returned the favor.
So all I remember is waking up in the ambulance and just being really confused, like, what is going on?
Haley was walking through her Stittsville neighborhood with Clover when she had a sudden seizure. With no one around, Clover sprung into action, first checking on Haley, then watching as a passing car drove by.
Okay, hold up.
It wouldn't happen a second time.
Hold up. All right, so the dog tries to make sure she's okay, realizes that she's not, looks at a car going by and thinks, I don't know, I'm trying to put words in a dog's mouth, but I should do something to help my person.
Absolutely. And by the way, a person driving by, this isn't San Francisco or New York City or Venice Beach. Did you not see a grown human lying down? Like, what the fuck? Under what circumstance? I drive by people passed out every day. Numerous.
Yeah.
I live in Venice. I've been that guy too many times where I pull over. I'm like, hey, you okay? He's like, oh, I'm just sleeping. And you're like, oh, if this looks like a very suburbanite neighborhood.
It is, yes.
Who the fuck just? Oh yeah, she's probably just taking a nap in sub-zero fucking snow.
Didn't even pump the brakes.
No,
just right straight through.
Jesus Christ. Okay, go ahead.
Now watch what the dog does to get help.
Okay.
After freeing herself from her leash, Clover forced the next vehicle to stop and help.
It was really impressive. The dog Clover actually blocked my way. She kind of backed into the road to block the truck.
Dryden Noatway immediately did his best.
So I rang the closest doorbell as many times as possible, ran back to her and flipped her over on her back and just tried to keep her head straight. And
it wasn't long before Clover caught the attention of another neighbor.
Good thing they have the dog, because she's a very good friend to her.
Haley was treated by paramedics, and while they're not sure what caused the emergency, Haley knows if it happens again, Clover is there to protect her.
I feel 10 times safer, and I know she will be there for me.
The family dog quickly becoming the family hero.
And Diane comes home with a couple of big steaks, and I thought, wow, this is great. I'm getting a steak. And she said, no, it's for Clover, for doing such a great job.
Man's best friend, now Haley's as well.
You know how good animals are, and she is a really amazing dog, and I love her so to death.
Colton Prale, CTV News.
The dog backed up into traffic.
Dogs.
Like literally stopped all traffic. Crazy.
That was amazing. That was an amazing story, and that dog is beautiful. I also loved that everyone was the most Canadian person ever.
Yeah, that's true.
She's
It was in
Ottawa. You know
Ottawa.
how much animals are great? Oh, even the dog was like, "Ruff, a boot." I have a dog story.
Yes.
This is not as a giving dog. This is not as magnanimous a dog, but this dog is fucking hilarious. You have at many points in your life been a dog owner.
Yes.
Yes.
Love.
And bathing them sometimes, feeding them, everything that all the stuff you do when you interact with your dog typically is fun and enjoyable, except for doing their nails. Dogs hate that shit.
But
typically,
do you do their nails?
Clip them and stuff.
Oh,
A
okay.
lot of times, certain breeds, their dew claw and stuff. You're not doing them any.
That's why my dog's fingernails were this long. And when I say finger, I mean paw.
It's just like.
I'm not sure why a dog has a finger.
Flojo. Good reference. So this dog, he makes it known he is not liking getting his nails did. Check it out.
Okay.
I would do that.
That's real. For those of you listening audio only, that was a dog scream.
Okay.
Listen.
That is unbelievable.
And I hate...
And by the way, she wasn't hurting that dog yet.
No.
She hadn't even clipped the nail. She was literally making no contact with her nail, with the dog's nail.
That dog saw the nail clippers and made that noise. Like he was aware that they were coming close.
And the dog would stop and she would pull him a little way away. And then when she moved it back into to the tail.
I hate to admit it. I love dogs. I love them so much. They give so much to my life. But if my dog did that, I would never stop trying to cut its nails. Like I'd be having a bad day. I'd come home from work and I'd just be like, honey, can you hand me the nail clippers?
How long have you been doing this? Oh, about 6 hours.
All right, Kevin,
Yes.
your turn.
Thank you. A Louisiana boy, like everybody else, they have problems last year with COVID.
Sure.
The older people are much more at risk. So his grandparents, he hadn't seen them in 8 months. And it was because they were quarantining. And then eventually they got their vaccines. And they surprised this little boy. He's outside just shooting buckets. And his mom says, hey, why don't you come over here? And it had been 8 months since he'd seen them. Mm-hmm. And apparently they are very close, and he really missed them and didn't know that they were waiting for him to surprise him. Watch this.
Are you guys ready for a boost?
We need it.
Here we go. So a little boy, a boy in Louisiana named Patrick thought he was in trouble when his mom called him over as he was heading out to play basketball. But that was all part of the surprise. His grandparents had come for a visit for the first time in 8 months after they got their COVID shots.
Come here. Come here. Somebody special's here to see you.
Oh.
Long time no see, boy.
Oh, you crying?
Oh.
My boy.
What about that surprise, Patrick?
Yeah, better than Christmas.
Don't push it.
Grandparents moved away to Florida during the pandemic, so they had to do some driving just to spend a couple of days with Patrick. Again, how about my boy?
I mean, yeah, but well worth the
Yes.
the drive. I love that.
How sweet was that kid? He exploded with joy and just ran to them.
Yeah, man, that makes me feel so good. I love when children, especially in today's day and age of like technology, where kids really do have so much awesome crap to do.
Yeah.
I love when they can still just blow their mind on the really important stuff. You know, when they seeing your grandparents after 8 months, and that kid, you would have thought that like he just won a Fortnite tournament or something.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
like it's really nice to know for me as like full over the hill kind of detached adult guy that the kids today, it's still in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All right. So Mr. Rogers, I'm honestly a huge fan. I worship Mr. Rogers. I always loved that there was someone in a non-creepy way. I know some people disagree, but in a non-creepy way, when an adult can take time to not only make it okay to be for kids to be kids and embrace their kind of immaturity.
Sort of creepy. A little bit creepy.
If you think Mr. Rogers is creepy, that might be on you.
Sometimes
That might be on you.
Sometimes he comes across as creepy.
All I'm saying is that there's an innocence to children.
That says more about me than him.
And far too many adults, myself included at times, I get misguided, and I try to remove the innocence from my daughter in order to prepare her for the real world. And Mr. Rogers was a guy who devoted his life to not only embracing that innocence, but to strengthen it. Well, this lady disagreed.
What?
She grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and she fucking hated it. She hated Mr. Rogers. She always thought it was annoying. And so she grows up.
Wait, she didn't hate it because of my joking
She's
about
like,
him.
I thought it was boring, and I thought he was silly. And
well,
I
it's
didn't
not
care.
for her.
And exactly, it was not for her. So she was a little bit off-put when she grew up. 30 years later, she has her own kid, and their morning ritual was eat breakfast and then take a nice morning walk before they head to school. And there was a nice little kind of half-hour break in between there, so her daughter would get to watch her one TV show. Unfortunately, her daughter's favorite TV show that happened to be right at that slot, Mr. Rogers. Mm-hmm. So she's like, okay, my daughter likes it, blah, 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 blah. Turns out it's her daughter's favorite show, and she just worships at the altar of Mr. Rogers. So this lady who lives in Pittsburgh says, hey, Mr. Rogers, Pittsburgh guy.
I didn't know he's a Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah, he's done the show from there, and he's been a local Pittsburgh librarian.
Did he ever refer to it as Schittsburg?
Not once. No,
Okay.
not like who's that actress? God damn it! Really pretty girl. She was either married to or with God, I can't think of his name either. Jesus Christ, I'll just give up. so he's this Pittsburgh guy. She's like, what? My daughter's second birthday's coming up. Shoot for the stars. The guy's down the street. They write a letter inviting Mr. Rogers to dinner.
And then he asked all the parents to leave. No,
I want to be alone with your children. So, no response.
Okay.
The
Well,
husband-
by the way, you would sort of expect that.
Yeah. But you also kind of expect he's such a giving and generous person. You're like, maybe,
Yeah,
like,
sure,
why not? You know,
sure.
it's not like inviting Kanye to dinner,
No, I think it would be a matter of him seeing it.
Yeah.
More than anything.
So, no response. Months go by. Now she's getting kind of cynical. The husband's like, what do you expect? Okay, he's a busy guy. Then they learn, he's dying and has been dying for the last. This was at the end of his life, and Mr. Rogers had kept it a secret, and now it had come to light that he was dying. So Mr. Rogers passes away, and they just kind of write it off. A couple weeks later, after Mr. Rogers passes,
he comes back from the dead.
A letter.
You know that guy had sleeves and was an assassin, right?
Uh-huh. Okay, yes, he was a Marine assassin. They come home one Saturday afternoon, and they find a letter in their mailbox. Okay? The accompanying note from his associate producer indicated that it was among the letters written in the early stages of his illness.
Wow.
I'm cramping, sorry. So it was a hand-typed letter to the mother and to the daughter saying that he was very sorry, but unfortunately he was ill, and he would love to come to dinner, but it's just not the right time in his life. And it was a handwritten letter, and it's prominently framed inside the people's home, sitting above the mantle so that they could all look at it. And I just thought to myself, like, oh, and by the way, the associate producer wrote another letter saying that under any other circumstances, Mr. Rogers would have definitely come to dinner, and that he not only is sorry that he couldn't do that, he's sorry that this letter took so long, but please understand that it was because he was failing. And now that he had passed, we've had the time to go back and get his paperwork.
After learning all of that, do you feel bad about making fun of him earlier?
I didn't make fun of him. You did.
Oh,
You
right.
said he was creepy.
Okay.
You said sometimes he comes off creepy. And I'm saying maybe that's you. And this filter of yucky, rancid poop.
I mean, that is my filter.
That is in your brain.
Yes, agreed.
There's my story, Kevin.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and maybe even share it with a friend.
Just definitely do that.
Yes, definitely do that. Sorry, I said maybe.
Help us.
Definitely.
Outro. You know what I'm talking about, bro. Say goodbye to the sad, hello to the happy. Kevin and Mike never are sappy. It's great news.
You forgot the theme song.
I just did it backwards, but I pulled it off. Kevin and Mike are here to give you great news.
Nice.